Hey guys, welcome to Storytime with Ray, episode 2. Before we begin, I might want to mention that I have a cold right now and my nose feels like crap. And if I have to, and don't be alarmed if I sniffle or stutter or something and you hear sniffing in the background, because that would be me. And my life sucks because I have a cold right now. But anyway, that's not going to stop me from having fun reading to you guys because, it is fun. I'll admit it. Anyway, today we have a story called It's Not Schizophrenia If It's Real. I don't quite remember who the author is. Oh, it's by Rainy Bow. Anyway, on with the story. Introduction. The following events are real. The entire story is non-fiction, and the entire story is mine. Names have been changed to protect the identities of people mentioned. If you don't believe in what I have to say, then please feel free to leave now and never look back. Would you care to hear a secret? If you don't, leave now. Do you believe in ghosts? If you don't, leave now. There, now that that's taken care of, the rest of you may read on. Assuming that if you believe in ghosts, or you're just a fool who decided to keep reading because you're captivated by the title and thought it'd be best to ignore my words and see if I had an interesting point to this all, I have a little secret I'd like to share, because frankly, I'm tired of keeping this all to myself. A while ago, I thought I had schizophrenia because I saw someone who wasn't there, and I heard voices. Apparently, schizophrenia doesn't develop until you're in your 20s, and I'm only 13. So what was that reasonable explanation for using my verbal illusion and hallucinations? I had got my ability to communicate with ghosts back. If you think I'm crazy, leave now. Let's do a little bit of a background on me, shall we? Why yes we shall. When I was younger, about 3, I believe my great-grandfather died. Pre-death, he was in a wheelchair, and my parents and I lived in an apartment. He had never seen my room because he couldn't get up the stairs. So anyway, my mother had left my father and I alone in the apartment so that she could be with her grandfather when he died. Everything was sad, so very, very sad. I was in my room, playing on the carpet with my favorite blue toy truck, when Great-Grandpa came into my room. He was there. I'm pretty sure he sat and played with me. I think he had wings, but I don't remember exactly. The only thing I'm positive about is that I was playing with that blue toy truck when he came into the room. My room. The one upstairs. The one he had never been in. My room. I ran out to my dad and said, Great-Grandpa died. And he said, How do you know? So I told him. I saw him, Daddy. He started crying and called my mother, who was in the hospital, and he told her what I said. And then he started crying harder. Daddy loved Great-Grandpa. Mom had said that I was right. Great-Grandpa had died. And I knew because he visited me. And that, my dear readers, was my first paranormal experience. If you think I belong in a mental institution, leave now. I've been open to paranormal things ever since. Seriously, if you're still reading this, you don't believe me, I think I feel a strong loathing towards you. Anyway, back to present day. Actually, no, we still have more background. It's far interesting this time, believe me. The first time I saw him, it was a sleepless night. I was tossing and turning in my own bed until I had finally had enough. It was hot and stuffy. I couldn't breathe in my own skin. If I had gotten out of bed and walked to the bathroom to splash cold water on my face, hoping to feel at ease and stop the tingles that ran over my skin. Not the good kind of tingles either. I have physically shake them away from my body by doing this weird thing with my hands and rolling my shoulders. The setup of my house is strange. It scares me. There are very few places in my house where I feel safe. Actually, let me correct that. There are no places in my house where I feel safe, because I'm never alone. Even when my family is all gone, I'm not alone. I just can't see my company, nor do I welcome them. My room is at the end of a hallway. Directly across from my room is my grandparents' room. Diagonally across from my bedroom is the bathroom. And across from the bathroom is It's always dark, and they don't let me close the door. But I know I should. Nobody ever believes me, though, I swear. I told them that we're not alone in this house. They agreed. But they said it was a pleasant spirit. It laughed in their faces. This is no spirit, and it sure as hell ain't pleasant. Meet Tom, my worst nightmare. I was never completely comfortable in my home. I was terrible. My house was old, too, so it would creak and groan in the night. Sweet dreams? More like hello nightmares. I was stupid. I would watch horror movies. I know I have an overactive imagination. Everyone knows that about me. But I watched them anyway, and I would act like they didn't bug me. But I would lay awake, paranoid, and waiting for my demons to get me. Anyway, back to that night. The ones where I couldn't sleep. I walked through to the kitchen and into the dining room where the computer rested on the dining room table. The windows didn't have the drapes pulled shut, but surprisingly, I thought nothing of it. It was about 5 in the morning when I finally became tired, and I was just exiting out of the pages when silly me decided to look out the window at the precise moment. What did I see? A man. My breathing stopped. My pulse quickened. I didn't move. I was paralyzed. He was wearing dark gray sweatshirt, the hood pulled up. It was almost black, but not quite. His pants were very dark olive green, and his shoes were black and scruffy. He was standing in the rose garden, or what was left anyway. All the roses had been clipped for the winter, so it was standing in a rocky patch with large brick red flower pots planted in it. Greenish-brown rose stalks freezing in the cold. His clothing wasn't what froze me in fear, though. It was the fact that this was 5 in the morning and he was on my property and staring into my window. It was the fact that while I saw him, I couldn't see him. His face was covered in shadows, like it wasn't even there. I could make out no facial features, though I'm not completely sure I wanted to. I knew where his eyes were, however. There was an empty glint that told me that he was staring right at me. I felt his energy flow through me. I knew he wasn't alive. I didn't think he was a ghost, though. I cut that part of me out of my life. I wasn't normal. Just be normal. Everyone wants normal. But this man was not normal. So maybe I was messed up. It didn't matter, because he still held my gaze, and my thoughts were non-existent. When he finally released me, I blinked for what felt like the first time in decades, and where the man once was, now rested a black rose. Impossible. The roses were clipped, and if they hadn't been, they'd been dead. The man, whoever he was, left me this black rose. Why? I don't know. Will I ever? Chapter 2. Second Encounters of the Worst Kind. I walked quietly to my room after that, having been released from my trance. I remember feeling numb as I walked back to my bedroom, numb, mesmerized, not aware. I collapsed onto my bed after shutting down my bedroom door, and I laid awake for a while more while falling asleep, hardly disturbed by the man outside my window. My mother had woken me the next morning, and it was clear to her that something was wrong with me, but I wouldn't speak of it. Now that I was awake and my brain was fully functioning, I couldn't ignore my thoughts. Who was this man, and what did he want? Could I give it to him? If I gave him what he wanted, would he leave me alone? This is the first encounter I've had with him. Will there be more? Why is he choosing me? Does he want to hurt me? Is he coming back? I was a prisoner of my own mind. Everyone could see the distance in my eyes. I was always locked in some faraway place. The man wasn't there, but the thought of him froze me. Was I crazy? This man isn't real. I saw him, and then he turned into a rose. A rose that wasn't even there. Was I actually going crazy? No, that's crazy. Going crazy is crazy, and I was not crazy. I was sane, not normal. No, definitely not normal. But I was crazy. Sane. I was sane. My thoughts went back and forth for hours, days, weeks on end, until I saw him again. It was a Saturday morning, and I woke up around 11:30 a.m. with an uneasy feeling in the pit of my stomach. I stumbled out of my room as I wiped sleep from my eyes, and as I did so I hit my foot against my door frame. I caught myself before I fell, and now adrenaline was pumping through my veins. I'm not sure if it was because of my almost fall, or the fact that I knew something terribly wrong was in my house. I walked to the bathroom, glancing back at my brother before stepping fully. What I saw terrified me. My younger brother was in the kitchen, facing me with a butter knife in one hand, half a banana in the other, a grin on his face. "Hi," he greets me. I nod back, but my eyes are locked on the person behind him. It was the man, except this time he was not outside my property. He was in my house. Too close. Far too close for comfort. He was too close to my brother, and my brother didn't even know. He had no idea what was happening. He just thought it was any regular morning. I felt the man's eyes bore into mine, even though I had only been watching for maybe 2 seconds. But I couldn't help but take in every minuscule detail. His charcoal gray hood was still pulled up above his head. His pants were still dark and baggy. The kitchen was lit, but that didn't change his appearance at all. He was the exact same as he was the first time I saw him, as he was covered in shadows. They pushed away from his body like smoke, enveloping in a black fog dense enough to see through clearly. His eyes were still invisible to me. All I could see was the glint and nothing more. An evil glint it was. I could feel his presence and energy coursing through me as if it were my own, and I could sense what he wanted. Pain. He wanted to cause pain to none other than me. I couldn't stop my feet as they continued their path into the bathroom. The man and I had only looked at each other for 2 seconds before the bathroom door was closing and locking behind me. My own hands putting a barrier between myself and the man in the kitchen with my brother. It wasn't until I finished my business in the bathroom that I realized what I had done. I unlocked the bathroom door quickly and ran out, hairs on the back of my neck rising as my stomach becomes hollow and I feel like I've lost the ability to breathe. My brother isn't here. The man had taken my brother. I was sure of it. Neither of them were here. I panicked. I ran from the kitchen, through the dining room, into the living room where the TV caught my attention. Obnoxious cartoons were playing, and on the couch sat my 9-year-old brother, a bowl of Rice Krispies with chopped bananas in hand. I sighed a breath of relief and ran a worried hand through my hair as I walked back to the kitchen. Maybe I am crazy. Something dawned on me just then. That morning in the kitchen, maybe I'm just not crazy, but I'm schizophrenic. I'll have to do research later, but I'm pretty sure I have at least a mild case of insanity. Chapter 3. I don't care if you're real or if I'm schizophrenic. I still hide under my covers at night. There's still some eerie about knowing you're being watched, especially when you're in your bedroom and thought you were alone. But then again, was I ever alone? In the back of my mind, there always seemed to be something in the back of my mind, something telling me that there's somebody walking alongside me. And this man was a wake-up call. At the point I had reached, there were 2 roads I could travel down. I could think about the possibility of schizophrenia, or I could consider the paranormal way may be contacting me. Either way, I knew I wasn't going to like the turnout. It was one night. I was alone, laying in my bed. I was snuggled under my covers when the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I felt myself break into a cold sweat, and I began to panic. I know this feeling. I get it all too often. Maybe I could shake it off, though. Maybe it's all in my head. Maybe My thoughts stopped. Rain, she called out. A little girl, maybe 6 years old. She broke into giggles, and another young girl laughed with her. I hugged Teddy, my teddy bear, close to me. I squeezed my eyes shut. This isn't real. I'm caught between reality and a dream. This is all in my head. It has to be. Rain, she says again, her voice only a whisper. The two girls then begin to say my name repeatedly, their voices swirling around in my head. I pull the covers over my head. Maybe if I hide, they'll just go away. Rain, an old lady says this time, my name in a furious whisper. Her vocal cords sounding old and used. Her voice was raspy, and it made my pulse race with fear. As tears welled up in my eyes, I found myself unable to move. I was literally trembling with panic. My grandparents was asleep just across the hall, and I wanted to call for them. I wanted them to save me, but something in my head told me that if I were to scream for them, or just scream at all, I would disturb something. Something in my head told me that what I had here, these 3 people, or whatever they were, calling my name, this was peaceful compared to what it could have been. Something in my head told me that I should be grateful that it's just these 3 rather than the man. The man wanted to kill me. I could feel his intentions run through my veins when he was around, and thinking of him was no different. Those 3, they simply wanted to scare me. And they were doing a damn good job of it, too. Something in my heart picked up a few notches. My skin began to crawl, and I silently begged Teddy to protect me. Protect me from what, though? Why, only the man, of course, because he was back. I could feel him, but even worse, I could hear him. His footsteps. They started at my closed door, painfully, slowly. They walked down on the length of my bedside. Footsteps sounded light. They were faint, hard to hear, but at the same time, they sounded heavy. I just couldn't tell which it really was. I listened as he took his time walking along the space of my bed. I listened as he walked along the side again, the one that I was laying on. His footsteps stopped. I felt his eyes on me, as though they could see through the blanket, so I so desperately wanted to hide me. I felt his presence. I felt the terror rush through my body as his intentions flooded my mind. I didn't want to die, but he wanted to kill me. Murder wasn't in his mind, and death was on mine. I was going to die that night. I knew I was. That had to be the end. He was so close, so very close, close enough to kill. However, he never made a move to kill me. He just stood there and watched. The other voices had left us alone, and I was trying to keep my sobs silent and stop my body from shaking, but it was no use. I knew that he knew exactly what I was feeling, and I knew that my pain brought him pleasure. Eventually, I cried myself to sleep. He never left my bedside, and that was the first night of many that I feared I wouldn't make it through.